Bismillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The other day I was asked to sit in on a young brother's thesis presentation for his master's degree. And alhamdulillah, the brother did very well. I was quite impressed. And I believe he has aspirations of a PhD. So he's trying to move up the uh, the academic hierarchy. He's trying to move up the ladder. Alhamdulillah. Um, the brother's African American, and it is important that for not only the Muslim community, but for the African American community as well, that we have more black male educators. Um, Many times, I've talked to my own students, and I was the first African American professor that any of them have ever had. I'm the first black teacher that any of them have ever had. So, we ask Allah to grant this brother success. The other thing is, later on that day, I called a brother to check on him, and we had a conversation about status and credentials. And I told him that I know of people who were Muslim or any religion, and that's what they claimed coming into academia. But as they traversed the path, all of a sudden they become agnostic, or they become um, atheist, and these types of things. And the brother asked me, he said, well, how or why do you think that happened? So I said to him, well, as Muslims, we understand that there's Allah and there's a shaitan. And the shaitan, his job is to misguide and mislead and lie and deceive as many of the children of Adam as he can. So what happens is, people who gain titles and credentials and academic accolades, they then begin to rely on that. There is a liberal onslaught that is against God, that is against a creator, and everything falls at the feet of man. There is a scientific method in all of the sciences, the natural sciences as well as the social sciences. And there is a method of research that's done, that's again across the board for all of the sciences. And this method of research helps us to come to academic conclusions for whatever the issue is, whatever it's being researched. People who are not firmly grounded in their religion, what happens is they become wrapped up in the belief that science can give you the answers to everything. And if the scientific method does not produce what you're saying, then it's not a reality. You cannot for a fact prove that God exists by using your five senses. This is the logic that these people use. There's no scientific method that can substantiate the claim that God exists. And these people are relegated to basically their aql and their five senses. Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah talked about in one of his books the different types of heart, or levels of heart, that a human has. And these people who are void of a connection to the creator, they have no connection, they have a dead heart. So it doesn't matter what you say to them, they're not going to understand why a person has this belief. For those of us who are Muslim that have prayed tahajjud salah, for those of us who have made dua in a situation that we saw no way out of, and our dua was answered, we understand the connection. We understand that there is a power involved that is beyond our human comprehension 100%. The people who are from Ahl al-Aql, or the people of intellect, they rely on, again, their intellect. And what happens is they become gods to themselves. If their mind cannot comprehend something, then they reject it. They become their own gods, and the people like them. That's who they end up worshiping by way of what they say is the final word. I remember when I was in graduate school, one of my professors, we talked about science. And this is something that, to me, I think is so common sense. You ever met someone that was so smart that they were stupid? This is what happens with some of these people, with some of these so-called intellects and academics. But my professor told me, he said, science cannot be the be-all end-all, because science changes. What we considered to be a fact in 1950 is quite laughable in 2020. What we thought was a scientific fact in 2005 or 2010 very well may be totally different now. It may be the opposite of what we thought. So back then we screamed that this or that was a fact, when in fact it wasn't. It wasn't concrete. It fluctuated. It moves based on information. Allah tells us and guides us and gives us everything that we need for success in this life and in the next. And this is another disconnect that these people have. They live only for this life. So because they live only for this life, they are totally lost and disconnected. They don't look for a higher power to give them that guidance. And to me, that's a very sad existence for a person to only have themselves to rely upon. When in the science of sociology, people and their statuses are classified in 3 different statuses. You have your ascribed status, your achieved status, and your master status. Your achieved status is, or your ascribed status rather, is that which you are born with. You are not in control of the family that you're born into. You're not in control of your skin color, what they call race. You're not, you play no part in where you land on the socioeconomic ladder at birth. These are all ascribed. These are all things that you are born into. Your achieved status is exactly what it says. It's achieved. These are titles, awards, accolades, degrees, things that you earn along the way. And then you have your master status. Your master status is the status that you identify with the most. It's the status that you want people to see you as the most. Case in point, you can meet somebody for the first time and that person is a doctor or a PhD, and you may say, hello, my name is such and such. And they'll say, well, my name is Dr. such and such. Okay, well, doctor is a title. That's not your name. But they feel the need to lead with doctor because in this society, doctor garners a level of respect, right? So they will put the title first ahead of themselves. That is their master status, that the fact that they are a doctor or whatever their title may happen to be, professor, doctor, whatever, lawyer, whatever. That's their master status. That's what they identify with the most, and that's what they want other people to identify with the most. When you walk into people's offices and you see their walls with all of their degrees from college and accolades on the wall, why do they do that? They do that because when people walk into their office, they want them to see what they have accomplished, and those accomplishments garner a level of respect. And that is where those people find comfort. That is where they find security. That is where they find power. The power is in their title. And all of that goes back to their aql, and it goes back to their disconnection to the creator. But for the Muslim, our master status is Muslim. regardless of whether we have a PhD, we're a medical doctor, we've earned a Juris Doctorate, master's degree, bachelor's degree, whatever the case may be. Our master status is the fact that we're Muslim. Therefore, the titles are not really necessary. Our power lies in the fact that we're Muslim and we are connected to the Creator. There is a heavy liberal onslaught against religion in academia, especially in the humanities department. And these humanities departments, I mean, every type of lifestyle, regardless, is not to be judged, not to be questioned. It's not to be critiqued. People make their own choices, and we are supposed to just respect that. God and law are extracted, taken out of it, not taken into account. So during my time in college, I fought several battles because the fact that I stuck to my guns as a Muslim. What was beneficial for me is that when I went back to college after my military career, and by the time I went back to college, I was well grounded in Islam. I had traveled, I had moved to Egypt, I had studied in Egypt, I had gone to a lot of different countries, and I was a little bit more mature. I wasn't this 18 or 19-year-old bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, young person that would sit in the classroom and have a professor open up my head and just pour whatever into it that they thought was correct, and I just eat it up. I wasn't that one. I was the one that, had traveled a little bit, had matured a little bit, was grounded in what I believed. And that is what helped me to come out the tail end of academia still as a Muslim. I've seen people who were Muslim come out not Muslim at the end. I know of an individual when I got to my college who claimed to be Muslim, although I never saw him pray. He didn't fast in the month of Ramadan. He didn't do anything that the Muslims do. He claimed to be Muslim, so I take him at his word. But as time went on, now he's an atheist. This individual is an atheist. And that's because he wasn't grounded in Islam. He had little to no actual connection. His heart was not connected to Allah. His heart was not connected to the deen. And one of the most important aspects of our religion is knowledge. Knowledge. We don't do anything without knowledge. Knowledge precedes speech and action. Ilmu qabla qawli wa amali. Knowledge precedes speech and action. So without knowledge, you're going to be lost. And if you have very little knowledge of your religion, and then your knowledge of whatever secular science that you are studying sort of overtakes that, because you end up having more knowledge of whatever you're studying, that ends up taking precedent over your Islam. So, for parents out there who are sending their kids to school, please be mindful of this. Many times your children at some point are going to need to be debriefed and reminded that they're Muslim, and, you have Allah and you have a shaitan, and the shaitan is busy at work. So with that, I will sign off. Everyone have a blessed Ramadan. Barakallahu feekum. Jazakum Allahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.